Hello everyone, and thank you very much for joining me in this week on Eat Sleep Reef. I'm gonna be showing you guys in this beautiful new week how to add macroalgae into your refugium. So as you guys can see, let me set this down. I'm gonna have to obviously temperature acclimate it. This is the refugium. Now, this whole sump was made by Advanced Acrylic. It was specifically made for this tank. More importantly, it was specifically made as a Triton method sump. If you guys don't know what a Triton method sump is, the way it works, generally speaking, the first chamber in any sump is where the skimmer goes. The second chamber is where the refugium is, and the last chamber is where your return pump goes. Per Triton method, the first chamber is a refugium, and it has no mechanical filtration. So there's no filter sock, no filter floss, no anything as far as mechanical filtration. Pretty much the biomass that the Chaeto grows into, obviously nothing this side, but when it gets huge, that becomes what captures all the excess nutrients, all the gunk, and really breaks it down like a big compost, if you will. And then after that, it then goes to the skimmer. I got the DeLua skimmer here, followed by the last chamber being the return chamber. So what I'm gonna be showing you guys in this video here is just some general rules of thumb of when you are adding macroalgae into your tank. I was also enticed to get a small piece of SPS. I know I said I wasn't gonna add any coral to the tank till I saw Coraline. I wanted to see on what level the tank was as far as maintaining coral, before I, do end up pulling the trigger. Now, given SPS is the harder corals to keep, not really harder, they just want more stable parameters. I figure once the tank's able to sustain that, we should be fine. I've had great luck with setosas in my tank. It's a tiny little frag. You can kind of see it there. Typically, if it's able to grow setosa, I'm going to feel very comfortable with it growing pretty much any other type of coral. You can kind of look at the bag here. I've obviously had it acclimating. Even though it is macroalgae, obviously it's not as delicate to change, but you still want to, in my opinion, float it, and I guess I'm doing it more for the coral than anything. But another thing I'm going to recommend to do when you do get macroalgae, whatever the source be, is to always try your best to rinse it in some salt water mix. So try to not rinse it in your specific salt water. Just obviously mix some salt water. Start mixing it, not mixing it, I would say more rinse it is what I'm really trying to say. This is just gonna help if there is anything on it. Hopefully, it's not transferred into your system. I'm not trying to say I don't trust my neighbor or what he gave me, but again, it's never a bad practice wherever you get your macroalgae from. A lot of people ask me, a few videos I did a while back when I was inputting the Coraline, they asked me what dip I was using. Now this here is a Reef Primer. This is the shot version of it, the shot being the smaller version. They do make it in a bigger version, but again, this is made by Polyp Lab, and again, it's the Reef Primer. This is what we're going to be using to actually dip the Chaeto. You're probably saying, why the hell are you dipping Chaeto? Well, the reason I'm going to dip the Chaeto, if there is any sort of parasites that this stuff can pull out of there and kill, we want that to happen. There is kind of a side thing to this. Anytime you do this, if there is pods on there and you dip it, you risk killing the pods. Luckily, Reef Nutrition is actually going to be sending over some pods in the next few weeks, so I'm not worried about seeding the tank with pods. They're going to be covering that, so I'm not too worried about killing the pods. But of course, more importantly, after killing anything that'll obviously harm the corals long term. Now, the macroalgae you get may come with other sorts of algae that you don't want, like hair algae, diatoms. I mean, there's so many sorts of algae out there. So number one, you're going to want to be careful where you are getting your algae from. It's a source that you trust. Luckily, I got this from my neighbor. I've seen his tank. I've been around it for quite some time, and I'm very happy with how it is. So more importantly than anything, this video is just going to show you guys how to treat your algae if you are a little bit worried about where you're getting it from. Honestly, I'd be more than happy to just throw this right in there, not be worried. But again, for video purposes sake, I'll be showing you guys how I like to add macroalgae into refugium. So already got my bucket ready. I added some 2 cups worth of water from the system into a little bucket. I also have pre-mixed salt water ready to go to replenish whatever I take out. So here we're going to take our Polyp Lab Reef Primer, and we don't need too much. That should be, we'll do a little bit more. That should be enough. So what you want to do, you want to you want the salt itself to dissolve as much as possible. You can kind of see it's kind of in the middle there. A good thing for this is going to be one of these to obviously help that. And you want to try and mix it as best you can. So I do have a small piece of coral. You can see there the Setosa, that's going to kind of be the test coral. That actually came out from my JBJ 45. I don't know if you guys remember the Setosa on the top left corner. I gave him a good sized frag of it. Now that thing is just huge. But when you are dipping a coral, no matter what brand you go with, they all recommend anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. I mean, if you go a little bit over, no big deal. But you surely want it to be in there enough time where it is able to obviously do its job. Now again, guys, if you are, a lot of people would never even consider dipping macroalgae. The only reason I'm doing it is a lot more for video purposes, and more importantly, if I were getting it from a source that I didn't trust, I would do this. Or if you're getting it from a source that you don't trust, this is something I recommend. So it's more of a safety precaution than anything. Because one of the bad sides, as I mentioned earlier, from dipping macroalgae is chaetomorphas. You're going to kill pods, any of the cool critters sometimes you want. So in my scenario, I don't really care, because I'm going to be putting pods in a later video down the road, which of course I'm bringing you guys along that journey. So just be aware of that. But personally, I'd rather kill anything that could be on there, any flatworm, any of the eggs. They shouldn't be on the algae because technically they can't really grow on it. But again, it doesn't hurt to be too safe, especially in this hobby where we spend so much time and effort getting them to where they are. So I've obviously dipped, temperature acclimated the bag in the sump for quite some time. So what we can now do, you don't want to take out the water from in here. So you want to reach in there, grab what you're going to grab, and then put them in that water, just so you can use as little water as possible from wherever it came from as you can, and start off, you know, with your fresh water directly pulled from the tank, so the temperature should match identically. You can see there's quite a bit of stuff coming off. I do see a bit of pod flying off. A lot of it just looks like debris. Again, this is Chaeto, so Chaeto does tend to grab a lot of debris. So being that it's Chaeto, I'm gonna want to dip it 2 times. The second time is gonna be more of a rinse than anything. And then we'll do this one, and then we'll just do the second one as a rinse. And again, if you don't want to do that, you don't have to. A lot of this I'm just doing for video's sake, just in case you do pick up something from a bad source, you know, you kind of have an idea of what to do with it. But yeah, you can see some of the particles flying around, but a lot of it is just debris, because again, macroalgae tends to trap a lot of debris, which is why the Triton method works so good once the algae grows, because it traps a lot of the stuff and in essence becomes your mechanical filtration. Got the second set of water here. This is more of a rinse. Again, this is a Setosa piece. It's just really the test piece that we're going to be using for this empty tank. And the other one is still sitting in the dip. We're kind of still swirling it around. And then right now we should be taking it out. As soon as I'm happy with this one, I'll give this one a little bit of a stir. And then we'll be able to get that coral out and obviously put it into the tank. Okay? So I'm pretty happy with how that is. What I'm gonna do right now is throw away this water and just get 100% fresh water from the tank. Put this in there so the glue sets, and it's ready to go inside the tank. Got some rinse water here from the tank. We got the coral. The only reason I'm doing this is so the glue kind of sets. And there you go. The glue should begin to set. In general, if you do have a bigger piece of coral that starts to lean over before the glue sets, buying some super glue accelerator is going to make your life so much easier, because it'll set within seconds to the tank. I do have a little confession to make. I know I told you guys I wasn't going to have any coral in here till we saw coralline growing. I don't know, I may be wrong, but I'm hoping the camera can see this. It's very difficult for the camera to pick this up just because the blues are so hot. But if you look very closely on the tip of that right there, with my eyes, that's purple, and there's a tiny little dot of purple right there. I don't know if the camera could even pick it up. Can you see it? It's right on the tip of that. Let me try and zoom in a little bit more. Yeah, the camera's having a hard time focusing, but there's a little tip of purple there, and I can clearly see purple there. Not sure if that is or isn't coralline already starting to come out in the tank. If it is, that was like what? Was it 3 weeks since since I did my coralline video? I don't know. But whether it is or isn't, the same neighbor that hooked me up with this Chaeto, he also gave me a few test pieces, frags. You can see them here. There's Cyphastria and there's a chalice. Those have been in there for I think a week, and they're doing great. The reason I'm doing these and not like softies is because these are a little bit harder to keep, and if I'm able to keep these surviving, it tells me the tank is clearly on the right track. A lot of people were asking me where in the heck I got these tongs. These are on Amazon. I think they're like a foot long. No, this is more than a foot. Yeah, I don't know how, but look at that. It almost will go all the way the full side of the tank. But yeah, I got them on Amazon. I think they're like 20 bucks. Makes it so easy to pick up coral and hopefully not drop it. There we go. So very happy with that piece. We're gonna be able to see, again, these are test pieces. I probably won't have these in the tank. Maybe I will, I don't know. Maybe I'll give them away. But so far the other two that have been here for a week are doing great. Spot feeding them because nutrients are really low, but everything's really nice. So I've taken the macroalgae. You can see all the little fine particles. It's a good idea to rinse this out because again, this does have dip and it does have a bunch of stuff in there. So I've taken the Chaeto Morpha and kind of just, let's see how dirty or not dirty this. Oh look, this is cool. What the heck is this? Do you see that? It's some sort of like tube worm. So went ahead and added the Chaeto. So a good thing about when you do this is you're able to really inspect it. Really look at it. If there's anything you don't like, you can cut that little piece off or anything. You see, I'm actually pretty happy with it. And even then you can see what's fallen. I don't know if you guys can pick that up. That's actually a little tube worm. I know because the JBJ had a whole mess of them. Now some of this stuff isn't really bad. I mean, it's going to get in the tank unless you're super anal about it. Since this one did fall off, obviously I'm not going to put it in there. But in this, you know, we got some debris in the other one. There's a little tube worm there. And really nothing else alarming. Is anticipated because again, my neighbor, I know how he keeps his tank, so I wasn't expecting anything crazy. I honestly wouldn't have cared if that would have made it into my tank. This is the last little dip I'm doing on it. I'm really happy how it looks. I don't know if you can see, but honestly there's really nothing else floating in the tank. I don't see anything caught up in the Chaeto. I mean, I'm beyond happy with how this looks, and I'm honestly very satisfied and ready to put it into my sump. So yeah, a lot of people would ask me, hey, what light are you running for your sump? Now this here is the Illumagic. It's the same lights that are up there. The only difference here is this has the freshwater pucks. You can kind of see them there. Also, one thing I'm gonna probably do a future update video, let me know if you guys wanna see it, is how I mounted these here. Yeah, I think this will apply for cabinet. It'll actually work better in a cabinet. But as you can see, there's really that much. You can't put a screw in there, right? Because you're gonna go right through the tank. It's mounted on this little tiny plastic piece under the foam and above this. Can you see it? So yep, I actually mounted those. You can do this with any type of stand, any type of light. If you guys do want to see a video on this, I will, or I can, sorry. I can do a video in the future showing you guys how I did it. But anyways, and I know a lot of people ask me, why is this light so white? Is that the spectrum? I'm not going to be running this spectrum. The only reason it's so white is because it's going to look better on video. So obviously it's going to run more of that purplish, pinkish spectrum. But again, for video purposes, I turn it white so you can see the whole sump a lot better. It's a good idea to put this thing as much of in a ball. Don't squeeze it to death, but kind of try and keep it in the ball. There she goes. Oh, look at that. Looks so cool. Look at that. Wow. I don't know, that's super soothing. Or am I just crazy, or is that really soothing watching that fall? So yeah, all I'm gonna do now is replenish the water I took out. Luckily I have pre-mixed set of salt, and then we're gonna set the spectrum to the proper spectrum to obviously grow this Chaeto, and then we'll be able to wrap up this video. We'll do 10% of A, 10% of the B, and 140% of the C, which gives me something like that. That Chaeto looks so cool. Yeah, it looks really nice. So guys, I think we're gonna wrap this video up here. What the hell's that on the top? Oh, it's a, I was like, what the heck is that? I can see through there. But anyways, we're gonna leave this video here. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. More importantly, you learned some recommendations and some steps I take when you are adding macroalgae. I know a lot of you may say I went overboard, it's too much, you never do that. But hey, you can never be too safe with a reef tank. Like, this isn't even a big deal. Imagine a fully established tank with a bunch of corals. If you got a parasite in there, breaking that thing up would be hell. This one would be easy. Just break it down, start over, no big deal. If you are worried about where you're getting your Chaeto from or any macroalgae, you can use some of the dips I went with. Some macroalgae will do better than others in dip. So your best bet may just be to rinse them altogether. Don't even use a dip. But that's gonna be it. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. It's gonna be really cool to see and use this video in the future once that thing grows, because in essence that is supposed to fill this whole area. That's going to be super cool to see that comparison video. I thank each and every one of you very much for watching us. We're going to have a future update on the KHD right there. That's actually the alkalinity automatic tester. It's already hooked up, as you can see. We're going to have a future update on that. Yeah guys, I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave them down in the comment box below. If I did earn your subscription for this video, please be sure to subscribe. If you are subscribed and you haven't hit that notification bell, be sure to hit it. We got tons of great content coming up. Really hope you guys are enjoying it. And if you liked it, be sure to give me a thumbs up, give me a like. It really helps my videos out, helps push it to, obviously, so a lot more people view it. If you have someone that you can share this video with, a friend, family member, fellow reefer, go ahead and do so. I really appreciate that. So thank you very much for watching. As always, happy reefing.